It's Glyn Thomas talking tonight to Lisa Simmons from English Rose Wedding. She's a wedding planner, and I suppose Bruno Mars might be one of those records that gets played in the evening at the evening reception. So Lisa, let's talk about now the disco and the music at the wedding.
What we generally do is we break it into two parts of the day. So obviously you've got your daytime ceremony music and your evening. When it comes to the daytime, the music I would recommend is dependent on where the actual ceremony is taking place. You've probably heard of string quartets, and they can play all your modern pop songs, Coldplay, The Verve, that kind of stuff, in a classical way. And it really is beautiful. I try and err on the side of tradition, funnily enough, and I believe if you're getting married at church, I think you should stick to the traditional wedding songs, canons, Pashbel D, those kinds of things, the Queen of Sheba. I think if you're having your ceremony in the venue, that's when you can bring in your string quartet and play the more modern music. I do think you should keep the two, err to the side of caution, and distinguish between the two. If you do have a string quartet at your church playing your classical pieces, they can break into the more modern songs, perhaps when you're signing the register. That way you're happy, and of course Nan and Grandad are happy too. You've not upset anybody. I would always recommend utilising your string quartet. Take them to the venue with you. They can be there as your guests arrive, playing obviously the more modern songs, when your guests are having their canopies and welcome drinks, and whilst you're being seated. From that, they would usually finish when you sit down to have your wedding breakfast. Then you can either go onto the venue's own PA system, or, as I say to my couples, have your own music piped through the wedding venue's system via your iPod. That way it's a selection of your own music, which is personal to you too. Coming on to the evening music, you're probably going to have a DJ. I'd always recommend going with the venue's chosen DJ. He knows the venue, he knows the system, he's going to know what's going to work at a wedding, what songs to play, etc, etc. Bands are really popular, and you can't beat a live band. There are a few bands I work with, they're just fantastic, and they will always work with the DJ. Bands usually do 2 45-minute slots, which works better, I think, than one 90-minute slot. Don't forget to get in touch with your DJ if he hasn't been in touch with you at least 4 weeks before. Give him a list of every single piece of music you want playing, not just your first dance. Everything from perhaps a song that you and your bridesmaids had on your hen night, a song that you love dancing to with your dad when you were 3, anything that means something to you. If you don't tell your DJ, he is not going to play it. And the DJ should really keep in touch with you before the wedding as well, shouldn't he? Well, he should do, yeah. I mean, obviously he's going to want paying, but a good DJ is going to keep in touch with his bride, because he may, if you've got, a really out there music taste, he might have to search for a particular piece of music. A good DJ is going to want to play something special for her bride, so he's going to want to search for it if he doesn't have it in his repertoire. Let's talk about things on the table. I believe they're called favours, or they used to be called favours, and I mean, would you recommend them? I think favours these days are dying out, simply because there's better things you can spend your money on. Personally, why spend a couple of £100 on, a biscuit or some sugared almonds for your guest when you can spend that money on a chocolate fountain or a candy buffet, or even have an ice cream van? It's just better ways of spending your money. I think as well, the evening guests are often forgotten about, and I try and lead my couples to perhaps, rather than spend money on favours, put that money behind the bar, and when your evening guests arrive, buy them a pint or a cocktail or whatever is in your budget. If you buy your evening guests a drink, that goes a long way. It's remembered. And something that some people do as regards favours, gifts on the table, lottery tickets, recommended or not? Oh, it's just a whole legal minefield. How would you feel? And be honest, how would you feel? You've given all of your guests a lottery ticket and one of them actually wins £10 million. Are you telling me you wouldn't say to them, that's fine, you keep every last penny, I don't want any of it? I just think, given a lottery ticket, unless you get each of your guests to sign a legal document saying that you're entitled to a percentage, it could open up trouble somewhere.
I think the legal document side on the table alongside the lottery ticket tends to take away the moment, doesn't it, really?
Kind of, yeah.
Let's talk about the bridesmaids now, and the bridesmaids' dresses. Obviously, bridesmaids come in all different shapes and sizes and different skin tones, so how does it all work?
Yeah, this has been a trend I've seen. Some of my own couples and some questions I've had have been basically saying, you know, my bridesmaids range from a size 8 to a size 20. What can I do? It's really common. You've got to dress the shape. The last thing you want is an unhappy bridesmaid. We're not all made the same. We don't all look the same. We don't all look the same in the same dress. If you've got an unhappy bridesmaid, it is going to show on your photographs, believe me. So as long as you buy all your bridesmaids' dresses from the same designer and they're in the same colour, from the same range, your bridesmaids are going to be happy. You need a dress that's going to flatter each individual shape and size. There's lots of bridesmaids companies that do this. There's lots of ranges out there that specialise in bridesmaid gowns, particularly the Desi group, which incorporates Alfred Sung, Layla Rose and After Six, and also Ebony Rose, Kelsey Rose and Lindsay J. You'll get the same colour gowns from there, but in different styles, which are going to flatter your individual bridesmaid's size and shape. Leading on from the bridesmaids' gowns, I've been asked about bridesmaid shoes, and is it usual that the bridesmaids buy their own shoes? This is down to personal choice, and it's often dependent on the individual budget. The thing I'm finding is bridesmaids are complaining about having to buy shoes in say, I don't know, magenta. I'm never going to wear them again. Why should I spend 40, 50, 60 pounds on these? What I'll say to you is, if you've bought your bridesmaid shoes from a shop like Elegant Steps in Birkenhead, after they've been dyed to whatever shade matches your gown, they can then be re-dyed after the wedding to a colour of shoe that you're going to wear. They can also be embellished with crystals or anything you want, really. So yes, your bridesmaids should buy their own shoes because they can be customised after the wedding to suit their personal taste.
Let's move on to the gentlemen now and the bridegrooms. What kind of style should they look at? Does it obviously have to complement the bride herself?
Well, I've recently just blogged about this. According to Attire Menswear and Larry Adams, tailcoats are still the most popular choice, but not all men can wear a tailcoat. Some of them tend to look more like a penguin. It's not a good look on your wedding day. We recommend, if you're not comfortable in the tailcoat, go for a 3/4 jacket. Your wedding colour scheme can be brought in via the neckwear or your buttonhole. Personally, I do prefer the 3-piece lounge suit, a dicky bow and a coloured handkerchief. It's just so James Bond, it's très chic and it's never going to date.
Now, something else, of course, we need to talk about are the gifts for the bridesmaids and the groom's men, shall we call them, the personal gifts that are given out. So what would you suggest as regards that?
Regarding the bridesmaids, you definitely should buy them something, and really something extra special for the chief bridesmaid. I understand that, you know, budget is an issue for everyone in the wedding day, and when your bridesmaids aren't going to be expecting, you know, a little blue bag from Tiffany with some fabulous jewellery in. They'd like it, but they're not expecting it. So it doesn't have to be something expensive, even if it's just a voucher for their favourite beauty salon, you know, for a hairdo or a mani and a pedi. But just, you really should buy them something. A keepsake is more preferable, but it does come down to your budget. In regards to the men, you know, yes, you should buy your groomsmen something. And by groomsmen, we mean best man and any ushers. And most definitely, you should buy something for the best man. Again, it's all budget related, but whereas the girls are more fixated on a keepsake, the guys aren't. So, you know, if the best man doesn't have an office job or he doesn't wear shirts, it is pointless and a waste of money buying cufflinks. If you know he's into fast cars, you'd be better off spending that money on a track day, for example. As I said earlier, the guys aren't so fixated on a keepsake, they just want a gift.
Now, the all-important table plan. Now, this can cause some major problems, can't it, deciding who's sitting next to who? So tell us what your take is on this, Lisa.
Well, unfortunately, in today's society where, you know, 1 out of 3 weddings don't work, I have had questions on this. This one did strike a particular chord with me because it's just so common now. My parents are divorced. Mum doesn't have a partner. Dad wants to bring the woman he left mum for. What do I do? It's a really sorry state of affairs, unfortunately, when a bride actually has to sit and think about this. My response to this is always going to be, first and foremost, is your dad walking you down the aisle? I'm going to say that yes, he is. So on your wedding day, his duty, first and foremost, is primarily towards you, the bride. Perhaps you can suggest to dad, and if you have a relationship with dad's new girlfriend, perhaps you can suggest it to her herself, maybe over, afternoon tea somewhere. Could she come to just the evening reception? Your mum doesn't need any more stress on this day, and neither do you. At the end of the day, it's your day. And they both need to act mature and responsibly here in this situation for you. They need to put their differences aside and remember why this is happening. Their love for you should far outweigh their dislike for each other. If the dislike of each other extends to various members from both families, this is when you really need to think about your seating plan and have place cards. Place cards aren't so popular now, but in this situation I would definitely recommend them, so you know exactly where everyone is sitting and you can have people who don't like each other with their backs to each other.
What about children at weddings?
Who wants kids at weddings, really? I'm always going to err on the no way. Perhaps in the daytime, if you've got to have young kids because they look cute on the photographs of flower girls, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they look lovely. I get that. But you tell me any parent who really wants to have their kids at the wedding. If the kids are, say, over 10, it's not so bad because, they can play on the DSi and they can look after themselves, can't they? But toddlers and babies, no. This is just a perfect opportunity for the parents of the toddlers or the babies to get a babysitter and take the night off.
What about the bride and groom who might have their own kids? What about that situation?
Get a babysitter. It's not expensive. I work with companies who specialise in this. You don't have to have kids ruining your wedding.
We're talking here to Lisa Simmons. She's from English Rose Weddings. She's a wedding planner. Let's ask Lisa now. Lisa, give us your 3 top tips for wedding planning.
Okay, my 3 top tips for your wedding planning and for your wedding are: when it comes to your suppliers, if you're in doubt of any of your suppliers, each and every supplier, ask your venue. They are going to know who's there regularly, who's there all the time, who does a good job, and they will have their favourites. My second top tip is do not overspend. You do not want to start your married life in debt. If this means putting your wedding off for 12 months, 6 months, whatever, or perhaps having less guests, then make a budget and stick to it. You don't have to have aunties and cousins there. If they sulk about not being invited, then that just reiterates you've done the right thing by not asking them. Have the people there who you love and who mean the most to you, not just because you think you've got to. And finally, don't lose sight of what's actually going on and what's important. This day is over before you know it. Don't get caught up in the silly things, the small stuff. What matters on this day, your wedding day, are the vows you say to each other. Everything else is just stuff.
Lisa's top tips there, and Lisa's our wedding planner from English Rose Weddings. Lisa, before we leave Business Bites, give us your contact details.
I can be contacted on 07903 571 748. You can email me on info@erbw.co.uk, and the website is www.erbw.co.uk. On the website there's a direct link to the Facebook page and the Twitter feed.
Many thanks, Lisa Simmons, for coming in and talking to us tonight here on 7 Waves on Business Bites.